Hi book friends, I'm Erin, and this is Erin Go Read. Happy Tag Tuesday. Today I have the personal rules for reading tag. This is an original tag by MJ of Reading This Life, inspired by a video from Michael K. Vaughan, and I was so kindly tagged by Kim at Middle of the Book March, and I will link all of their versions of this video below. So here are the prompts. Excuse me if I'm looking down. I'm reading off of my laptop here. I'm about to go to work at the gym. I'm also trying to fashion fall into being. Like maybe if I wear flannel, I can just make fall happen, even though it's going to be like 88, 90 degrees today. Prompt number 1. Do you strive to read every day? If yes, do you do anything different or special to make time within your day? If no, why not? I do strive to read every day. I typically read every morning. I wake up at 5 and I usually use the kind of 5 to 6 o'clock hour to read. And then in the afternoon, evening, depending on whenever I finish work. Sometimes if I work at the gym until 7, which I do 2 days a week, sometimes on those evenings, reading might not happen, but I typically will read in the evening as well. It's really rare. It would be really rare that I didn't read at all. Like if I was like going out of town or traveling or an event was happening or something like that, but I really pretty much read every day in the evening or in the morning and the evening. Do you always stay within your favorite genres, or do you experiment with reading different genres and subgenres? I would say I experiment a little bit. I read quite diversely to begin with. My most recent dabbling has been in contemporary romance. So within the romance world, I definitely have a lot of room to discover, because really contemporary romance is the only thing I've read so far. I've never read any historical romance or fantasy romance, or I'm sure there's other subgenres of romance that I don't even know about. And then same thing with like sci-fi and fantasy. I don't read very widely or very much in those genres, and so there's a million rabbit holes I could go down there. I have Joe Abercrombie's The Blade Itself on my TBR, my fall TBR, and so that I believe is grimdark fantasy, which that would be the first grimdark fantasy I've ever read. Prompt number 3. Do you DNF? If yes, what was the last book you DNF'd and the reason? If your answer is no, then what drives you to finish the book? So I do DNF. The last book I DNF'd was, oh gosh, what's it called? It's like the 12 and a half something. The 12 and a half things, 12 and a half, whatever. It's Gary Vaynerchuk's latest book. And it was like, I like the concept of it. He's talking about these 12 and a half like soft rules or soft traits to have as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. And it's things like kindness, humility, things like that, rather than like the hard, like cutthroat business tactics. And a lot of it just seemed kind of like duh. And I enjoyed what I read of it, but I was like, I'm good. I think I got what I needed from it. And then in general, my rule, I don't have like a particular, like I have to get X amount of way through. It's just like, if I'm not enjoying this, if there's no reason that I have to finish this book, and like I'm a damn grown up, so if I don't want to finish a book, I don't have to. It's pretty much the way I look at it. I don't want to waste my time, waste my reading efforts, and ruin kind of like a reading day, a reading week, a reading month by trudging through something I'm not interested in. Prompt number 4. Do you like to read challenging books? If yes, what draws you to them? If not, why do you avoid them? By challenging books, I think of this as like intellectually challenging books, and I would say that yes, I do. Particularly, I like literary fiction and I like classics. Classics in particular kind of intimidate me, but it makes I feel so much more accomplished, and it's more, I think reading a challenging book, whether it's challenging you philosophically, intellectually, emotionally, academically, there's just a greater feeling of accomplishment. Like it's more than the sum of its parts. You learn and grow, and whether you become a stronger reader because of it, because you become a stronger thinker, or maybe just challenge ideas and open up your worldview. I think that's a big part of it's one of the reasons that I read. There are reads that are purely escapism, enjoyment, and then there are reads that it's like, yeah, it's good to kind of, actually one of the stickers on my computer here says seek discomfort, because discomfort, we don't grow inside of our comfort zone. So it's really important to push those boundaries in order to grow. And now, so you add a question, and you add your own. Each person who does this tag adds their own question. So now we get to Greg's question. Do you read books that have been banned by local authorities? I don't really pay attention to the local authorities. Again, like, I'm a damn grown-up and I can do what I want. I've definitely read banned books. I feel like I read something recently that was banned. Can't think of what it was. I read Parable of the Sower earlier this year. I think that's a banned book. But yeah, like, screw the man. CriminOlly's question, do you read books by authors whose views you disagree with? Harry Potter. I would say it really depends. If we're talking about nonfiction, I'm not going to go out of my way, and I would probably be really reticent to read a book by someone whose like political views or religious views were like starkly different from mine. I just feel like I would be really stressed out if I did that. It matters much less to me in regards to fiction, I would say. So I would think that's kind of like a case-by-case basis, and I can't really think of an example of someone who I have read who would fit that bill other than J.K. Rowling. Steve Donoghue's question, looks like there's two by Steve. Do you clear your mind of preconceptions and biases before you start a new book, or do you go in with axes to grind? Again, I'm probably not reading books that involve axes. I tend to not choose books that are around topics that are going to make my blood boil, just because I can't handle it. I pretty much avoid the news. I try to keep the stress in my life as low as possible. So I'm going to say it doesn't really apply to me. Another of Steve Donoghue's questions, do you recommend books if you end up really liking them? And if so, what form does that recommendation take? I think it just has to come organically in conversation. I'm not out like proselytizing. But yeah, if I get into a conversation with somebody and there's we come up to a topic that, yeah, I find out their taste in books, their taste in a particular subject. They're like, hey, I just read this book, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Bill's question is, what was the last book you recommended? Was there a specific reason for that book? Do people come to you regularly for book recommendations? So my sister recently wanted to borrow some books. She had some time off between school, and she wanted a book where a character kind of like went through something, had challenges, and overcame it. And so I recommended to her Abby DeRay's, I had it a second ago, oh gosh, I have to look it up. The Girl with the Louding Voice, that's what it's called. This young Nigerian girl has to overcome a lot of obstacles, and she learns to find her voice and to speak up for herself and have more than kind of her circumstances would lead you to believe that she would end up with. And I wouldn't say people like regularly come to me for book recommendations. I guess that's what my channel's for, if they want, if they're looking for it. Question number 10. What book have you had the most success in recommending? Probably A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Mockman. Yeah, I think it's a pretty universally loved book. That's a really easy recommendation for me. Micah Cummins' question is, do you take notes or annotate while you read? If so, what form does it take? I do take notes, or I annotate. So I will usually underline, I might write in the margin. Sometimes I might write like a tear or a happy face or a heart. Sometimes if it's particularly something I think I might reference in the future, especially like if it's a nonfiction book, I will dog ear the page, and then on the little flappy thing, I'll write like a couple words about what was being referenced there. Kim's question, do you shush, eye roll, or give the hand to anyone who interrupts your reading? No. If my parents live with me, and so that would be mostly my mom that I would be doing that to, and just out of respect. I might slightly eye roll, but she might not notice it. Like, do you not notice that I'm trying to read, Mom? But I would say no. And then my question that I will add is, was there someone in your life who really inspired you to become a reader, or who really helped you along in your reading life? For me, it was my best friend when I was young. Her name was Leah, and she was just an avid reader, and I had a really difficult time when I was younger reading, and I just always so admired how much she read, how quickly she read, how into reading she was, and I really wanted that for myself, even though it was a big struggle. And so from early on, Leah was really kind of that person for me. So I need to tag some people. So I will tag Krista from Books and Jams, Dia from Novel Idea, Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, Heather from Asagi Expat Book Nerd, and Shelly Swearingen. Thank you for watching. See you around the tubes.